Hi guys, happy new moon in Aries. I just wanted to come on today to talk a little bit about the new moon and about the cycles of the moons. As you probably know, obviously the moon goes in a monthly cycle, so we have a new moon. About 2 weeks later we have a full moon, and then another 2 weeks is the new moon again. But in terms of the astrological signs and that the moon moves through, it goes in a yearly cycle. So we have a new moon today in Aries. We'll have a full moon in Aries in about 6 months, and then about 6 months after that, we'll have another new moon in Aries, generally speaking. And working with the moon in this way, in a 6 month cycle, I did this last year of working with the the signs, the archetypes that the different astrological signs embody, in terms of bringing in the newness and the fullness of the energy with the new moon, and then kind of seeing how I have embodied that and how I want to keep growing into it, but also what I can release that maybe kept me from fully embodying that astrological, that archetypal energy at the full moon. So the full moon was a time to kind of look back and see how I'd embodied the energy that I wanted to bring in with the new moon, and then see what I wanted to release moving forward from that full moon back to the new moon, so that when the new moon came around again, I could kind of restart this cycle with a greater clarity and a greater intention of how I wanted to fully embody this energy. So my plan this year is to kind of do a little sharing, a little talking every new and full moon about the archetypal energy that's in the sky and how we can embody it in our lives and bring it into ourselves, because we have all the different archetypes within us in different aspects or different forms of our lives. If you're familiar with astrology, it would be in, where the planets are sitting in your chart, but also in the house system. So each house is governed by a different astrological sign, typically speaking. And so basically we all have all the archetypes within us somewhere. And you don't have to know astrology to work with these signs either. I think that because they do represent and embody different aspects of existence, it's a sort of beautiful way to go within and to see ourselves in a new light and work with ourselves as we change and evolve and transform as the year goes on. So today is the new moon in Aries. Aries is the warrior archetype. It's kind of the biggest embodiment of fire, of drive, of willpower. Aries are the leaders, and the Aries archetype, the warrior and then the ram, as it's also symbolized, with that power, the drive, and also some of the stubbornness and aggression that comes along with it, is all talking about our sense of self. So Aries is all about the self. Let me go back real quick. The new moon in Aries is when the sun and the moon are on top of each other in Aries, so the same degree in the sky, same spot in the sky. The full moon, the sun and the moon will be opposite each other. So the full moon, the moon will be in Aries, but the sun will be in Libra. And Libra is opposite Aries. In astrology, though, the opposite signs are not true opposites. They're more like two sides of the same coin. So when we work with the opposites on the zodiac, so these opposite archetypes, what we're really doing is bringing balance to these two different aspects of the one same thing. So when we're talking about Aries and Libra, we are talking about it's called the relationship axis. So where we experience relationship, Aries is really talking about how are we in relationship with ourselves. Libra looks at how we are in relationship with all others. When we embody the Aries energy, we have a strong sense of ourselves. We feel our own inner fire, our own inner drive. We know who we are, our values, our ideals, what we stand for, what we believe in, and what we want to work for and bring into this world. Libra really likes to see things as interconnected. We're all interconnected. There's nothing separate. So in that sense, there's no true self, true I, because we are all constantly not only changing, but in a state of influencing each other, being influenced by the environment, us influencing the environment, vice versa. So in that state of interconnectedness, Libra understands how we are all one. And Aries, being on the other side of that, feels we must be whole within ourselves. Aries is the embodiment of the divine masculine, the yang energy. And in recent years, there's been a resurgence of the divine feminine, of honoring her and really going into who she is and embodying that for ourselves and honoring that, because it has been so persecuted for so long. So we're talking about our sensitivity, our emotional selves, our intuitive selves, the parts of us that are receptive, are soft, are giving, that receive energy rather than just create or push or give energy. And giving a lot of honor to her, to this soft power, and that can transmute, because that's what the divine feminine does. The divine masculine, I think, in some ways isn't talked about as much, because it is the underlying current within the patriarchal society for sure, but at the same time it doesn't have to be used in a way that oppresses others. So that's sort of the shadow side of Aries. Aggression, control, drive, to the point where we push down others, where we plow everything in our paths to get our own way. But we can honor this divine masculine within all of us. We all have this within us. We all have the divine feminine and masculine within all of us. And we can honor this divine masculine in a positive way. The divine masculine is the part in us that wants to create, that's passionate, that's joyful, that brings the fire into this world, that drive, the sense of self, that deeply embodied and strong sense of self, where we know who we are, we know what we want, and we are not afraid to go for what we want, what it is that we know we are worthy of. So I'll give an example for myself. I have Aries ruling my 7th house of relationships, so where Libra is typically at home. So for me, because Aries rules my house of relationships, what I have learned in recent years, both with learning astrology, but also before kind of learning about astrology, was really that to fully be present and honor the relationships that I have in my life, to fully be able to commit to them, to be able to be healthy in them, to love deeply, I had to love myself. I had to begin with myself and my self-love, my self-knowing, to be strong in who I am in relationship with others. Because otherwise I would compromise in a way that wasn't healthy for me. I would let myself be sidelined. I would doubt my own inner knowing. And all of these are okay. It's part of life. It's part of what we go through. But my big lesson with that was to learn to trust myself, to trust who I know that I am, to trust the love that I know that I want, but to know that I only want to enter certain relationships if they do embody and empower my sense of self. And I can honor that in another that way too. So for me, that's how I've kind of grown into Aries in this last year or so. Moving forward, I want to embody this energy, this Aries energy, to lead from a place of embodied and whole self, in connecting with others, not just in an interpersonal or relationship kind of way, but in how I work with others, how I communicate with others, and being able to step out and share videos like this where I am able to talk about everything that I love and am passionate about from a sense of self, knowing that even though it's going to be awkward at first and I'm going to make mistakes and it's going to seem sort of funny, that I can still show up. So yeah, that's my big goal for this year, is to share one of these videos every new and every full moon talking about the archetypal energy that's in the sky at this time. Again, with this Aries energy, with the moon and the sun being right on top of each other in the sky, we have a lot of Aries energy. We have both the light and the dark, right? The sun and the new moon, the darkness are there too. So it's a time for us to explore both the light side of Aries and the shadow sides. And to me, when we have sort of an overabundance perhaps of Aries energy, like aggression, defensiveness, wanting to fight or to steamroll other people, this actually to me speaks to an insecurity in that energy, because when we are centered and grounded within ourselves and know who we are and can embody that inner fire, we don't have a need to run over other people, to impose that on anyone else, because when we're secure within ourselves, we don't need to push that out into the world, if that makes any sense. But we can create from that place. We can lead in our relationships, we can lead in our creations and our values and our strengths, maybe in our emotional security, in any aspect of our life that feels right, feels embodied for us. So if you don't know your astrology and you don't know where in your chart this new moon in Aries falls, that's okay. If you like this Aries energy and you want to think about embodying it in your own life, and especially in the next 6 months, kind of thinking about bringing it in, I would take some time today to kind of sit quietly with yourself and ask yourself, where is it that you want to feel strong and emboldened and impassioned? Where do you want to lead from? Where do you want to be sure of yourself? Where do you want to feel this inner fire? Maybe you already feel it in a certain aspect of your life, which is awesome. Maybe you feel that in some aspect of your life you feel the sort of shadow sides of Aries, the aggression, maybe defensiveness, really wanting to push back against other people. If there's somewhere in your life that you feel those emotions are kind of triggered for you, today is a really good day to sit with those and ask why. What's there that feels vulnerable, that feels a little uncomfortable, that wants to react with that aggression? Because that will lead us deeper into ourselves, deeper into strengthening who we are, knowing who we are, so that we can lead from a place of love rather than fight, if that makes any sense. But Aries is the warrior, so don't be too hard on yourself. And then just for a little further clarity, I am going to pull an animal card for us, so that we can get a little bit more clarity about where we can bring Aries energy into our lives. Alright, if you would like to partake in this with me, find yourself in a seated position or wherever you are. We're going to take a moment to close our eyes. Deep breath in and out. We'll ground down into the earth. So this is interesting. I got Fox, which is about solitude. So in this deck, Fox is one of the fire element cards, and Aries is definitely a fire element. But the word on here is solitude. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe. So solitude. So taking some time today to be with yourself and kind of think about how you want to embrace and embody this inner fire. New moons are also a great time to go within. So Aries is normally a very external, fiery, passionate archetype. But with the new moons are internal. There are internal lives, there are emotional selves, there are intuitive selves as well. So with the new moon, in the dark of the moon, when we're planting those seeds, we really need to take some quiet and some internal time. Typically writing is a really good way to express the inner fire while going within. So let me read from the book here. So the message of Fox is alone time allows for personal growth and inner peace. Recognized historically as the cunning villain of the animal kingdom, the fox will do whatever it takes to have its needs met. Living and hunting mostly in solitude, fox gets crafty when it comes to finding food sources and remaining undetected. Foxes possess extraordinary hearing skills and invite us to open up and truly listen to what is happening around us. We are guided to listen to our own inner wisdom, tune into our intuition for advice, and listen to the true nature of life's happenings, therefore uncovering the need to shed unnecessary stories, resentments, and beliefs. Fox reminds us of our need for solitude, retreat, hiding, and to often focus purely on ourselves in order to restore, recharge, and get back to our own power. According to folklore, the fox is an intelligent being said to possess magical abilities that increase with age. You can see that often the most intriguing and antisocial types are actually the most powerful. As cheeky as fox can be, it is also inspiring to see just how much they can achieve as an individual, whereas a lot of other wild dog and cat species rely heavily on their packs for survival. The fox teaches us just how much we can do on our own, and that we don't need to call on others to help us live a fulfilling life. So I love this because this sort of independence is exactly what Aries is. Aries is the warrior who can fight his or her own battles without needing an army behind him or her when we're fully embodying this energy. It's our deepest sense of power, and today I think Fox has come into our lives to remind us to take some alone time, some solitude, to really reflect and think about where we want to bring out this inner fire, this sense of self, our deepest inner power. So thank you so much for listening to this. If you stuck with me, I really appreciate it. I hope to be back in a couple of weeks for the full moon that's coming up. But yeah, so in 6 months from now will be the full moon in Aries. So set your intentions now about how you want to bring this powerful Aries energy into your lives. And then in 6 months, we'll revisit it with the full moon, and we can see how we've embodied Aries energy, maybe how the shadow sides have still come out, maybe where there's a block in how we wanted to embody it. And then give thanks, because the full moon is about giving thanks, and it's about integrating it with Libra, with the other half of this, the other side of this axis, coming from our wholeness within ourselves to wholeness within the interconnected universe. That's Libra's side of it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day today and a lovely new moon, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.